Kimble, and I'm the mom of 3 children, 2 of whom are presently in the schools in Bridgeport. My oldest is finishing her first year of college. I am in agreement with Mr. Medea and the other parents here. What he has stated with regard to the various reasons why parents object to this assessment are reasonable and just. These assessments are inaccurate, invalid, unproven, inappropriate, and actually quite harmful to the learning environment. They are definitely neither the bubble tests of the 80s or the 90s, nor the West tests of just last year. This test is adaptable. It changes as the student answers the questions. No test is the same. The Smarter Balanced Assessment was created by a company specializing in the psychological and behavioral aspects of testing called AIR, the American Institute for Research. In the words of Dr. Peg Lexick, I don't think that parents send their children to school to be lab rats. I don't want my children to be experimented on. There are numerous concerns surrounding the collection of student data. You've heard some. Student data privacy, and security. We just saw a security breach of the WPNet. A few weeks ago, traced to a student in a meeting and then to an offshore site. I haven't heard anything else about it. I did hear Sterling Bean on Hoppy Kirchville say he'd like to punch the student in the face, but anyway. Our schools, as you know, are not a 1-to-1 ratio with regard to technology. Scheduling computer time for the assessments is logistically challenging, to say the least. Our administrators, I believe, have done the best with what they have. However, disruption within the school and classes for the assessment is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and in some cases longer, for practice, preparation, and finally the assessment. They consume valuable academic time with no benefits to the students, but actually costing the students instructional time. This is most obvious at the secondary level, where some students are in mixed grade classes. In order to test the third designated group or grade, they actually miss class and are responsible for the materials as though they were in class that day. For testing, it is possible that a high school sophomore would miss 6 days of class for Smarter Balanced and 1 day for West Test, and would have missed 3 days for practice. The West Test Science, 10th grade, you still have to take that. So that's out of 180 required instructional days, approximately 5.555% of the school year for these assessments. This doesn't even account for the ACT plan as required, now required, and I obviously could address the issues of benchmarking and acuity and ACT Explorer and ACT Compass and the NAEP testing. Our children are being bombarded with standardized assessments. These last 2 reasons, the logistics and the consumption of valuable academic time by these assessments, were also complaints that our LSIC addressed to State School Superintendent Dr. James Ferris in the State Department of Education last year in regard to the West Test being given via computer for the first time. After receiving our letter and being invited to a board meeting by former board president Mike Queen, which the board meeting then turned, as you know, into a forum, Dr. Ferris and about 12 others from the State Department of Education, along with the State Board member, Wade Linger, were in this very room. Another person who was included in that 12 was Juan Dubrow. He's the former Executive Director of Assessment, Accountability, and Research for the West Virginia Department of Education, who also served on the Executive Committee of the Smarter Balanced Consortium. He is now the Director of Strategic Research Solutions at CTV McGraw-Hill in Charleston. At this forum, this exchange took place. Mr. Queen, what are the penalties if parents opt their student out of taking the test, the West Test? Great. Mr. Dr. Ferris, what are the penalties if students opt out? Well, first of all, they can opt out. They can opt out. Dr. Ferris, yes, they can if they have a reason to do so. It can be for many reasons. The penalty, there is no penalty for students, but there is a participation rate that all schools must meet. Mr. Queen, okay, so we would penalize the school more so, there's no penalty for students. Dr. Ferris, no, none. I have more to say, and I've obviously, as usual, run out of time, but in closing, I ask you to, like Mr. Medea, I'm calling on you, our elected officials, for the immediate removal of all punishments or possible punishments improperly enforced on our children due to this opt-out. also like to recognize the teachers for teacher appreciation. Good teachers can last a lifetime. And happy Mother's Day, everyone.